achieved.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Studio Day Heffrey Day Quarantine Countdown to Cowboys Camp rolls on, and today, unless I'm wrong, I think there's only two things left. It's quarterback and running back. And in the quarterback preview, I mean, there's really not a lot to talk about, right? So I'm going to give you an angle that I sort of wonder about here. The latest report from Brian Broaddus, former NFL scout, Cowboys personnel man, and my friend and coworker, talking to a former coach that he said he asked, do you think Dak wants to be here? And he said, honestly, I don't. But obviously he's a professional and he's going to go about it the right way. He's a stud, all that. Is that big news? Yeah, it's big news, but it's also the opinion of a former coach, right? It's not a Dak quote or whatever. But, you know, when negotiations don't go well and the guy is obviously trying to maximize his earnings and the Cowboys are trying to get hooked up and get a deal, you're going to have all sorts of speculation. You're going to have all sorts of opinions about what it means. But in our Cowboys Countdown to Camp preview, at quarterback, obviously Dak is your starting quarterback. You've got a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. If you're a Dak hater, maybe you could drop him as low as 12 or 13. If you're a Dak lover, you could take him up as high as maybe 5 or 6. But I'll say comfortably you have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Where it gets interesting at quarterback to me is obviously you never want a guy to get hurt. You want your starters to be available. You want your starters to play. But do I believe that the Cowboys are interested in what would happen if Andy Dalton took snaps? I do. They wish it could happen in virtual reality, but I think when the negotiations are so high stakes like they are with what the final numbers are going to be when Dak Prescott either does or doesn't do a long-term deal with the Cowboys, do I think that there are enough things you can look at? It's well established. I think Dak is a better player than I think a lot of people that are watching and a lot of people that watch the NFL. I think a lot of them. I think he's a really good player. But is there enough that if you want to view it from the other side of that coin and say, okay, the Cowboys, do they look at before you traded for Amari Cooper and how that was going and say, maybe our quarterback's not that great. Maybe it's his surroundings. Do they look back at when Tyron Smith went down and the offense sputtered and go, well, maybe if the surroundings aren't perfect, our quarterback's not great? Because that's fair, right? That's fair to look at and say, well, you know, you start taking away those pieces. And I think that happens to a lot of quarterbacks. But if I say that that would happen to a lot of quarterbacks, am I just saying he's just another quarterback? Because it's just a select few, right? I think Mahomes would be good regardless. I think Breeze would be good regardless. Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson. So there's a few. And so now they're stuck in this place where you're debating, okay, well, where does our guy fall? Because ultimately, if our guy he's not a product of the system. He's good at too many things to say that it's just the system or it's just his surroundings. And I think this is a dangerous game to play at quarterback. I talk about doing it at running back, but I wouldn't want to give a running back $12 or $15 million a year because I can get close to that production from someone else. I can find that, and I've saved money, and we have a salary cap. And so the next logical step is to say, okay, well, the quarterback, you know, amount that we're going to spend is significantly higher. Could I get similar production from somewhere else? So with Andy Dalton, who is literally just a guy, right? Kind of a borderline NFL starter at this point in his career. Aren't you curious what it would look like? No matter how good you think Dak is, right? And not saying that I want Dak to miss games, but aren't you curious to know what the result would be? I don't want to see him play because I'd like to see the Cowboys win all their games. But that can help you get some clarity. What if that guy steps in? You're like, well, holy crap, our receivers and our line and our running game. So I think they're interested in seeing him play while also hoping he doesn't play, if that makes sense. Dak Prescott, quarterback. Andy Dalton, backup quarterback. And then the only other interesting name, Clayton Thorson's on the roster. He was out of Northwestern a year ago. And then you've got the Nooch, Ben DiNucci. DiNucci's interesting to me. He's 23 years old, out of James Madison. And he's actually got some good tape. He's got a nice little lively arm, athleticism, toughness. He's actually interesting to me. So keep an eye on the Nooch. You just have to see how are you going to play this with your roster in terms of you get a couple extra roster spots. Are you going to carry an extra quarterback? With no preseason, you could probably get the Nooch to the practice squad without worrying about somebody putting a claim in. But if he's a guy that McCarthy really liked, do you even risk that? It's a question we do every year. And it's like, oh, you could never expose that guy to waivers. And then they do, and they pass through, no problem. And that would probably happen with the Nooch. But keep an eye on Ben DiNucci, the Nooch, the future of the Cowboys. The only Cowboy quarterback with a long-term deal. So that's your quarterbacks, right? Don't worry about Thorson. Let's move on to the running backs. The running back, and by the way, the Dak thing, every time I talk about it, it just keeps popping into my brain that unless Todd France has like a major change of heart or change of plan, or Dak makes him have a change of plan, he's getting unrestricted free agency. We've gone over this. I don't want to go over it again, but it's just math, right? It's just math. They're going to request a massive amount of money next year because of that tag situation. And the Cowboys, if they weren't willing to bite this time, why would they be willing to bite next time? And then if you're Dak, wouldn't you go to a 3-year deal now that they didn't give you a 4-year deal? You say, okay, well, I still want to hit free agency at the same time. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get that deal done unless something changes significantly. Okay, running backs, right? Ezekiel Elliott, one of the better backs in football. You got him. You got Tony Pollard. And my angle on this one is I want to talk to the audience who is a big fan of like the bell cow running back, right? Like Ezekiel Elliott, that is something great about him. You can give him the ball a lot. His production numbers, the volume, not getting hurt, like he brings that, right? Big, tough, physical. Does tap his helmet and come out a lot after carries, but can carry the ball 300 times a year. How valuable is that, is I guess my question. Because I get into it with a lot of people because, you know, my running back stance, don't pay them, right? That's my running back stance. Don't pay them. Derrick Henry was the best running back in football a year ago, right? The advanced stats tell you that he got more than an extra yard per carry compared to what was blocked for him. He was freaking awesome. I still wouldn't pay him. He's not a big part of the passing game. I'll just try to find me another good back on the cheap. And maybe I'm an idiot. That's always possible. But the bell cow question. If my bell cow averages fill-in-the-blank yards per carry, and then my second back, who plays a quarter as much or whatever, averages a half yard less per carry or a yard less per carry, then I'd be like, hell yeah, give it to the bell cow, right? We get more yards per carry. Give it to him. He's better. He's awesome. But I just don't understand when people tell me that you're paying for a guy to have a bunch of carries. Like, player X wouldn't hold up to 300 carries. And I'm like, well, if player X is getting over 5 a carry and your player is getting less than that, why are you telling me you want to keep giving it to the guy who's getting less? And you're like, the other guy couldn't do that because he couldn't carry it that much. Why wouldn't you just give it to another guy if the yards per carry is more? We're here to get as many yards per carry as we can. It just confuses me. And I say that to say this. Zeke's really good. CeeDee Lamb being added to the offense could be a great thing for Zeke. But how do you not want to see some more Pollard? Instead of 300 to 100 on the carries, shouldn't we want this to be 250, 150? Or maybe even swinging even more in that direction, depending on what's happening when each one gets the ball? Pollard a year ago gave you an explosive run. Let's see, they had the same amounts at a 3 times better rate than Elliott did. Don't you want to see if that would hold up? Because if it does, it's good for your team. And if it doesn't, then people like me get to shut up and be like, oh, okay, yeah, there, see, but you just want to use them in a limited amount there. So the running back preview portion of this to me is just, let's see how this season starts. Let's see if you can get Tony Pollard more involved. I don't mind playing them both on the field at the same time, but if you do that, take Jarwin off. Leave my 3 receivers alone. Thanks. I don't mind playing them both at the same time, but I do want to see more of Tony Pollard. I want to see, can those explosive plays continue to show up with some more carries? Can you continue to get me over 5 yards per carry? Because if you can, you need the ball more. Now, if this season's a little different and Zeke's out here getting over 5 a carry, and when Pollard comes in, he's getting 4 yards a carry, go ahead and lean back on him. Lean back on Zeke. Just, you got to be curious. How can I maximize how many yards I'm getting per carry? That's all I ask. So those two, obviously on the roster. Zeke and Tony Pollard. Other running backs on the roster, Darius Anderson out of TCU. Jordan Chunn was here a year ago out of Troy. Rico Dowdle, South Carolina. Jameis Olawale, of course, is still on the roster. And then the other name that everybody keeps asking about that is one that's interesting, Siwo. I don't have a pronunciation guide in front of me, so I apologize. Olanalua. Also TCU. They got two TCU rookies, but he's 6'3", 240. And, he's got the ability to carry the ball. I don't know how great of a blocker he is. Well, he's one of the guys that I got to see in camp, right? Like, I've seen some TCU tape, and I'm intrigued. I think it's possible that he could be a guy that pushes for a roster spot. The former running back coach loved Olawale. New coaching staff probably didn't care. And so let's see. Let's see if our TCU man can make a run at the roster. Otherwise, be ready for Olawale. But you also know me, team hashtag no fullbacks, only one tight end, hashtag. And so that's the running backs, right? Okay, done. Now, to the mailbag. Rico, how happy are you that the Cowboys didn't give up all those picks for Jamal Adams? It's in my last video. I'm happy. I'm not dancing or anything. I'm not out here trying to taunt and say Jamal Adams isn't really good, but no, I would not want to give up what the Seahawks gave up for him. Mr. Cool Man, Jeff loved the show. Question, are you worried? By the way, mash the thumbs up if you haven't already, please. And leave in the comments what you want to talk about tomorrow, because this is the end of the camp countdown. We've done every position. So I need you for tomorrow's content. What's your favorite thing to put on a sandwich? You put Doritos on it as your cheese, nacho cheese Doritos. You like a pickle on your sandwich? I do. I hate condiments. Are you worried at all about Garrett going to a division rival, or are we going to change completely that it doesn't matter? No, I'm worried literally zero about Jason Garrett going to a division rival. I don't think that he's a very good coach. I don't think he's a bad planner. I think he's bad in the moment. I think he's an okay planner, but I also hate his plans. His plan is just to be better than you. That's his plan. Our players are going to be better. We're going to execute. Daniel, what will the Cowboys most likely do? Spend a high draft pick on a safety or go pay big money for the best safety? It seems like they don't value the safety position at all. I think it'll be a priority next offseason. What'll be real crazy is if Seattle just gave all that up, because the report I saw said that they did this with the understanding that Jamal's going to play out this fourth year without worrying about a contract, and then there's no promises going into next year. He can start making noise and looking to get a deal done. Maybe they'll get a deal done. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't, and he'll force his way to the Cowboys. But I think they'll prioritize safety this offseason. I believe, and this is just how it goes. You get optimistic in off seasons, especially when there's been change. But I believe that this coaching staff will let this scouting department recognize the strengths and weaknesses of the roster and address them accordingly. Aaron, I would like to know how you're going to grade prospects in the upcoming draft if no football season. Are you going to base them off 2018, 2019 tape? Yeah, that's exactly it. I've got all 22 tape from last year, from the year before for college. No, I can't share it. I wish I could. Just swing by. We'll have snacks and watch it. We've had to do that before. You have guys who get hurt early in the year in either their senior year or as an early declaring junior, and you go back and watch the prior year. I had to do that with Carl Joseph, who got hurt his last year in college, and he had better tape the year before. Connor Williams, you had to go back 2 years to see his best tape. Who is the XFL safety? I watched him at West Virginia, and then I watched him for St. Louis in the XFL. So, yeah, there's a bunch of dudes. You'll make it work. Your evaluation will be a little bit tougher because for a lot of those guys, especially the guys who are juniors that'll be coming out, if they hadn't played that season, you'll be going off of their sophomore tape, which, you can make a lot of progress as a college player between the ages of 19 and 20. And so you'd like to see him again, but you can make it work. That's good for today. Leave in the comments what you want to do tomorrow. Make sure you're subscribed, Jeff Kavanaugh, or youtube.com/Jeff Kavanaugh. Check 1053thefan.com every day. By the way, I can see in my settings that only 15% of you have the alerts turned on for when a video goes up. Click on the little bell thing. Get the alerts on. I'm trying to live in your phone. and on your computer screen. I'm trying to be your bestie. Get up in there with me. I'll catch you guys on the radio, okay? And then we'll see you tomorrow. Camp Countdown's done. I need you guys. What do you want to talk about tomorrow? Let me know. I'll come up with some stuff too, I bet. But I'll see you on the radio, and I love you.